granted, it was because of the running the kitchen, so we need a bigger tank, but,
We
you see
sleep
the
most of
cost.
the time, so we don't cook a whole lot.
Yeah. Do you have a place to bury one left?
Yes.
Pull the old one, put the new one in. You know, the only problem that I can see is liability of the tank.
Or if someone hit me with a plow.
That's what,
Yeah.
that's what that inspection
One
does.
guy
That's what that inspection does every year though. That's what gets you out of your liability.
Like I said, I didn't know what the board's wishes were, I didn't know if we were looking to go.
I'm just not sure it's worth it where we lock into a year-round propane.
Yeah, that-
thing. That does kind of change things.
I think Irvin's been fine, and if we're not, if what he's saying is true, we're not locked into them putting the
No.
tanks in,
No.
so.
I mean, they all exchange tanks all the time.
We don't own any of the tanks.
so.
Library, police station.
I mean, I'll call a few just to get the price to see what it is.
Like you can buy a tank from a tank, well, actually the people over on Pine Road in Brentwood, they
Actually,
use a big
it's
tank.
very hard to do that anymore because of liability. You have to have a gas license to buy a tank, or you're supposed to have one to buy a tank of that size.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess,
Move forward.
I'd say get prices and see.
yeah, if
I
you
would
wanna
t-
do the analysis and if it saves us money, but like Rich said, if we're locked in with Irving, which we've done each year, and that has,
I'd call Sean Murray with Prue because he's a local guy.
All right, I can do that. The second thing that came out was along the same lines. So we have, in Bowen's budget right now, we have $15,000 for temporary heat for the new station. That would be buying either number 2 fuel for their heater, or at some point they're looking to kick on the boiler and actually use the radiant floor heating before we open the building, just to heat the building. So that would be LP. The town's rate for both number 2 heating fuel and LP is quite a bit lower than what Bowen could buy for. So if, with your okay, if we supply the fuel to Bowen, they will give us that $15,000 back.
How many
So-
gallons are you talking about?
It depends on how cold it is and how well insulated the building is. Snow.
Because we give them, so that when we buy in, we buy by the market, we go day to day, it could drop, it could go up, we have to tie in before midnight. The problem is they take all of our figures on an average of what we burn per year, and that's what they set aside for us. So I just wanna make sure you're not gonna go.
Well, first of all, they're probably gonna heat the building to 55 or something because the
Yeah,
work.
it's not, I mean, it's
the
not
work-
80 degrees.
You're not gonna be
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of gallons, right?
No.
And what they'll probably do is put little ball thermostats on there that can't be changed for construction. Because they'll take the dirt and everything and that keeps anybody from walking in saying I'm cold and cranking it up to 80.
Susan, stay.
Sounds like, Bowen's willing to work with us and save us some money.
So they're willing to save us the money for.
Yeah, so basically what will happen is they'll kick us back to $15,000. We'll pay for the heating fuel. And then, we'll probably end up paying, I don't know, just around.
they want a more reliable heat source, so they don't have some idiot who forgets to fill up a tank and everything freezes and all the drywall cracks. That's a lot more than $15,000 for them.
Right, the heater they're gonna bring in for the apparatus bay, he said will probably be filled like every 3 days. Not because it's going through that much, but because they don't wanna run out, they'll turn it down to 52 at night as long as there's no sheetrock in there, but it's gotta stay warm. But
So I would suggest that you let us know when you fill it, so they're not cranking it up like Rich said. We go through.
Well, I would just insist that they put a construction thermostat on there so it can't be played with.
yeah, Eric, the site super is on site every day from 7 to 4, so.
Can we encumber that 15 grand? Doesn't matter because it's a new
So-
station.
I don't think it matters because the PO basically for that 4.6 million will go into next year, so I don't think.
Gotcha. What's $4.6 million?
Among friends, nothing.
I'm glad we're all fine. So that's all
Does that make the most sense to you,
what?
going through Bowen on that?
It makes the most sense to use our price for heating. You're not gonna save all 15 grand, that's gonna be what we're paying for heating. But
Save 5.
You're probably gonna save, 5 or 8 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
We've already,
I would defer to you, Graham, if you think that's the right option.
The
I
other-
don't know where we're at with the radiant heating and everything, but I think that would be a much more.
Well, the
efficient
other
way to
side
get
too
that.
is if you start burning fuel, you run the chance of blowbacks and smell and everything else in a brand new building, you know, because they're not gonna put a great heater in there. So, that's
so
another.
we're trying to save wherever we can. So like, we had $2,500 in plowing. Bound already took that out because we have a plow for our utility. I have a plow on my truck, Rich's guys, after the storm is done. So we're trying to save as much as we can for the building. So I think this is just another way to save more money.
Sounds good.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Credit cards.
Yes.
You had sent a note earlier about needing to buy a stove that was on sale and where we stand with it.
Yeah, so I talked to Cindy, I emailed her, and as we buy more things for the station that aren't through our normal vendors, she emailed me back and said like, if we need something at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, we have accounts in both places. If we need something at Frank's Appliance, she said that usually, it doesn't really give me the warm fuzzy feeling, but usually they will extend the ability to use a PO or a line of credit to a municipality. But we are gonna have to start buying, a stove, a dishwasher, that sort of stuff, because some of these items are gonna be several months out.
I would definitely try Barron's for lines.
Okay, we're gonna shop around, but, so the stove we have spec'd for the area is a 36-inch stove, which isn't a normal 30-inch residential stove, but. So I didn't know where we were on credit cards,
We're working on it.
that's what
What if,
We've asked to have a rush put on it because of the challenges
I
that we
know.
face.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Costco doesn't sell to us at cost.
that's possible. I'll get the contact from you this week.
I'm almost sure they probably
Maybe if we send a blue car up there.
Will they take a PO?
will. Only a credit card.
Only cash. They only deal in cash on the back door.
They're only gonna take an approval on
That
this.
works too. Petty cash.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Graham.
Graham. Further public comment. Okay. Committee liaison reports.
I got nothing. No meetings.
We haven't had a meeting with the inspectors in over a month and a half, so.
The legal thing that we talked about, I did call the individual. He said last Saturday he would be moving those rocks back to the wall and fixing the things that needed to be fixed on town property. And I talked to Evie, and she's gonna send somebody out to double check.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Budget committee met, next thing is decision day. But more importantly, our favorite rec director is applying for a grant for the playground. And he's putting a lot of time in this, and he might be able to get something, he's trying to get something in before the end of the year. But it turns out he has to have signing authority in order to apply for the grant. So I was hoping tonight we could allow him to apply for the grant on behalf of the town and to be the signator. And then he would need a copy of those minutes, which would be approved next week, in order to attach it to the grant.
Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to authorize Paul Butler, Recreation Director for the town of Kingston, to apply for a federal grant, state and federal grants for the town of Kingston playground, stepping stones, and to have authority to sign
On behalf of the town,
on behalf of the town.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. Further discussion.
Is that 100% funding? Or is it
No,
shared?
it's different ones. He's trying a couple different things. It's not 100%, but they.
What is the shared cost from us?
Yeah.
Somebody else?
We already have 10,000 committed from
Right.
them. We incumbent 29,000. To do the whole thing over again, it really was kind of 25, 30 years old. It needs to be done.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Susan, if you could, next week, remember just to send those minutes to Paul.
Yep.
Once they're approved. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I don't, because I haven't been, I've met this past week.
Okay. Old business, scanning and digitizing proposals.
We listened to 3 demonstrations of the records management software that these companies are proposing, and got a lot of information. We have a 4th one that we can do next week, if we so choose. I think the agreement we came to today was what we want to coordinate all of those of us who listened to the demonstrations, get all of the comments in line, and then I believe it was also discussed on Friday to talk to Block 5 to see what their take is on the various things that are being offered and what would be best for the town.
Yeah.
So have a little more work to do, I think, before we want to bring it to a decision.
Are you feeling comfortable with the process and that you're getting the information you need to make a decision?
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
Considering where we were 2 months ago, it's,
Like night and day?
yeah.
Okay, good, that's good.
Well, thank you very much, you guys, for
There've
getting into
been
that.
3 so far, and 2 impressed me and 1 didn't.
Okay.
I listened in on 2 of them, and I gotta tell you, they had their work cut out for them trying to figure out the differences. They all sound good on paper until you start breaking it down, it's different costs. So kudos to Susan, Rich, and Cindy for doing what they're doing on this.
Well, it's good to see it in action on the screen, but it's also going to be, I don't think any of them are going to be that difficult when we're actually using it. It's hard to imagine how it's going to be, but we've got a taste of it anyway.
But the costs are all different.
The costs are also what we're trying to straighten out.
Okay. Consolidated.
It's in there.
I signed it.
I thought it was just Phil that had to
Yeah, I
sign
think
it.
it's just
Oh,
Phil.
I don't think you did sign it. I think it's
okay,
mine.
maybe not. I thought I had it.
Okay.
So, do we need it, we already
I don't feel like
authorized.
swallowing broken glass on air.
We've already authorized him to sign it.
Which brings us to our next thing. I'm gonna be meeting with Rich St. Hilaire, double checking the double poll list, and then we'll be serving formal notification through the Public Utilities Commission and Consolidated, and we'll be proceeding on that by the end of the week,
Okay.
so. New business, there is a draft policy for uncollectible funds in the packet, in everybody's packet.
Did we run this by legal?
I haven't,
You haven't?
no.
Say we run it by legal and talk about it next week.
I would say that, yeah.
The other question I had on this was, is there a scenario where, because we do take cards in a limited capacity, there shouldn't be any instance where that isn't covered, I don't think, right? Like when somebody swipes a
I
card.
didn't hear that, what did you say?
When we take a card down at the town clerk's office, typically if that goes through, we don't ever get a bounce. I mean, this
No.
pertains to checks by and large. I guess if we wanna just have something in here to protect us in the instance that someone, I don't know the terms of our
I
card
don't know how
reader.
credit cards work or something like that. Usually when it goes through, you're clear.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's,
been my experience.
The only
I
thing
have
is
one, and
somebody
that's the
can
case.
challenge a charge. I don't know if they could in that situation.
Well, the card holder can challenge a charge, but then it goes into Never Land. They get so many days to challenge a charge.
Well, that might be it. thing to put on there for legal when they're looking at it. Do we need to put anything about credit cards?
You should, fraudulent use of credit card.
Yeah, that's, I don't know if there's some blanket statement that we.
What if it's a stolen card that they pay with?
Did
Well, if it
Tammy get
goes
this?
through,
Who did Tammy get this from?
I don't know.
But I guess that would be my only addition, just to make sure that we're covering credit cards in this
Yeah.
policy as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, if you wanna send that to legal, Susan, and just include that question in there, and then we can address that next week. Board business, employee evaluation forms. Did we have questions on that? I thought we were good on
I
that.
thought we approved those already.
Where are we? Oh, okay, they're for you to distribute in that envelope with the different,
What envelope?
on the table there somewhere, it's full of evaluation forms for you to take for your individual
That's the
assignments.
whole thing. Forms, I'm sure they need them.
All right. First up, we got Susan. Who's Susan's evaluator?
I would say you as chairman. But is that correct? Did you
We're
do it
allowed
last
to.
year? I think you did it last year.
I did. Pretty, huh?
He was just checking, he was just testing.
I thought I did last year. Maybe I did the year before.
I think it was Phil last year, to be honest with you.
I think it was me
I think
last
that
year.
was the year before.
Yeah.
Okay, Dawn.
So, well, I'm not the liaison for the,
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be the liaison.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Well, it's me then.
Okay.
Paul.
I'll take Paul.
Adam.
You did him last year, I think you did his mail last year.
Ellen.
Me.
Chief.
Go talk about the heels.
Dave Shield would be me. Cindy.
I'm their liaison.
Graham.
Me.
Tom is me. Rich St. Hilaire.
Guess it's me. I've been all over the place with him, so I'll take Rich as well.
Robert.
I'll take Robert.
I've done Robert 3 years in a row, so
I'll do Robert.
probably could use a fresh take. Some of these I don't know why they're on here. And I'll do Rich.
I'll do Rich.
So there's 2 on here, Marissa Federico.
Oh, she's in
I'm
the
pretty sure that that's handled by, and then Steve Turner is on here.
Who?
Steve Turner is on here as someone we need to evaluate. I'm gonna go ahead and give that one to you, Grant.
I'll take that one.
Yeah. You take your guy. You missing one?
Does anyone do evaluate?
Tori,
Tammy?
but no, she does Tori.
Susan just Tori. What about Tammy?
Tammy's
No
an
one does.
independently elected official, so
So she doesn't get
she's
evaluated?
beyond evaluation.
Okay.
So Tammy does her employees
Yeah.
and nobody evaluates.
She's elected.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so evaluation forms are right here.
When is when you're starting the town report?
Any minute now.
Any minute? Can you send out a notice to us when you want the
Yeah, I'm going
report?
to have it
Any minute now.
January, so, but
Okay, next up, recycling and solar committees. That just came out in the paper
The second time, like came out last
Friday.
week.
Yeah, or Thursday, so I would think that we'd wanna wait another week, just see if we get any more applications and then finalize these committees.
Yeah, I got a lot of calls today, so I figured at least it was about the recycling, and I think that one came out.
Yeah, that was on the
today.
front page.
It's nice to see the, response for
Yeah,
something.
it's great.
that's
It's
been out
a
1 week.
very nice mix, I think.
It was a, well-written press release, so.
Thank you, sir.
I will say there's several people who wanted to call because they're in a panic about things
It-
changing with waste management because they're like,
Okay.
how are you gonna get that?
Yeah, and I would say anyone that come in, give them an email as well. Or
Okay.
either text, a phone where we can text them or and email would be good.
Okay. I can-
I'll ask them, I'll call them all anyways in my group.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with the board's permission, I was hoping Ellie and I could meet and just set parameters
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we
for
can do that.
the committee, what we're specifically looking at, and then we'll bring that to the board, so that the board can approve our authority and our scope of what we're looking to do.
I gotta say, since that article came out, I've had a lot of people comment that they were glad we were doing the solar and
Yeah, I've had a lot
that
of
we were
comments in there.
taking a step towards the 20th century.
Well, it makes sense to at least check it out. I mean, we don't, that's the second shot he gave us, didn't it?
Well, Graham's here, so we can pick on him in front
No,
of
the
him.
people at home are now saying he thinks it's the 20th
Oh,
century.
my gosh.
No, the fire chief does.
So why don't we link up this week?
Sure.
Rich, what do you got for?
Yes, Robert Blumda approached me this week and he would like to tap the maple trees on the plains this fall.
Really?
Says they have a boil room now and he wants to do it as an educational type program and then donate the syrup to the pantry.
I think it does the tree good to be tapped, doesn't it?
I have no
Supposedly.
idea.
And I just told him to send a letter in, which he did, basically saying that, and that we would,
Well, then you're
Is
telling me
it-
something, I'm not, I'll trust you on your judgment, but I thought it does a tree good.
It doesn't hurt it per se, it damages the tree, damages the outer ring, but I guess my only concern is there's not many sugar maples on the plains.
he obviously thinks there's enough to.
And the weather
I mean,
hasn't
he's
been
looking
good
at
for the
different
maples.
places.
Well, you won't know till President's Day. Tap.
You know what, I think we should try it this year.
Well-
See how it goes.
I think we should discuss it with Rich too, because he would have
Oh,
input
yeah.
on this.
That's-
Is it-
yes.
is it-
Of course, there, yeah.
Tree
I'll
work.
talk to Rich about it and then we'll bring it up next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
What you got?
All
Okay,
I got for now.
second public comment.
I forgot to mention this earlier, I would like to invite you guys on Wednesday. I will be putting out a text to all of you that we will be doing our first Seabrook drill. If you don't know what that is, it's basically you show up, you get paid, you will get paid as a Seabrook employee, through the Seabrook station.
Kind of short notice, isn't it?
Well,
They're doing another one?
this is our first one. So we have 2 practice drills and then graded exercise. So this is our first practice drill. So it usually starts around 9, chief breaks, buys lunch, and then we're usually done around 12:30.
Excellent.
Yes, I will be. I'll be buying lunch with the fire department money.
Are we getting Chinese food this time?
I have a couple of things that was some of the new business and pretty much old business too.
Okay, well, both of those have already passed on the
I know,
agenda.
so I'm on public comment. Tailor-made audio did come down the other day. Adam was nice enough to come in on his time off to meet with them as well as Rich, and he reevaluated. He's gonna give us a proposal. But definitely he's looking at a amplified system. He felt we shouldn't do the panels until you get the sound system first. Then if you need more, you can augment with that. He's gonna look at, we said we're more focused on the audio, but if he wants to give us a couple proposals for video as far as whether we do TVs or a laser projector. He said, you know, he was very focused on how it looks to the camera. I mean, he said, this obviously said looks horrible. He said he would recommend a wireless system. But he said if you have the TVs, you're gonna see everyone doing this, looking for, you know, where if it's everyone's focused to the front, that's what we kind of want.
And he also said an 84-inch TV up here is hard to see from where Graham is, that it's almost useless.
Really?
Yeah, he said,
Yeah, it
you know,
sounds
once you
big.
get 30 feet away, it's not big. So,
But he's gonna give us a proposal. We were quite honest with him that, you know, we're a town, we have to go with the bid. And he was quick to say, I can guarantee I won't be the cheapest. I said, well, we're not worried about that, as long as you're willing to be honest with us and work with us to, you know, to help us with an RFP, and he said he would be more than happy to do that.
That's great.
But he'll give us a list of his components, what he would recommend. But it all comes down to the digital sound processor, DSP, is what he said it all comes down to for all of it, whether it's a YouTube, whether it's a Comcast, whether it's in here, that's where the nuts and bolts meet. Then the only other thing, Block 5 did do a meeting with department heads last, it was a Friday, and there was 5 people went in on it, and they recommend that they want to do this every like 3 months, just like where we at, where we're going, and I thought it was very nice the way they did it. And so, like I said, it was just good. Everyone had a chance to know what's happening and everything else. We did talk about stringing a line to the fire station, and what he said, the ideal thing would be, he said, you want a loop. So that's the fire station to the town hall, to the police station, to the highway department, and back. He said, yes, he said, you're looking at probably 150,000, but your technology would be outstanding.
I'm happy with our
Hold on,
technology not
but
being dangerous.
stringing a line from the fire station to here, he said is great, but what happens when that line gets cut? Now you just shut down your town hall. He said a loop, it could go back the other way, and it's not an issue. But he did say, so I think that's something we don't want to look at this time.
So maybe that little museum will come in handy for a short loop. I know. Coming from me, you're shocked, but it
All right, that all you got, Kevin?
So that was it on that. And then the other thing though, I did get a phone call last week from Block 5 at the request of Leslie Hume. And Mike called me just to advocate for them. And I said, wait a minute, you know, he said they were fine. He's still giving them what they want, you know, but he definitely cut it down a lot, okay? And it's pretty bare bones. But he was calling me strictly to advocate, because she called him and said, you may be getting phone calls from the other selectmen and hope you would support us. So he was just being and I'm like, I said, you know, this is a guy that 2 weeks ago told me straight out he doesn't have time for anything. I said, Mike, thank you for calling, you did your duty for her, but I said, please don't, you know, I'm good. And then, but I did have a quick conversation. He's trying to set it up for them so that they don't have to be tech savvy. It's going to be kind of a complete system that is kind of a no-brainer. And when I said, why can't they just do thumb drives and do that, he said, the problem with that is if they screw up, they could delete instead of backing up. What he built was a redundant system so that they couldn't screw it up, is what it comes down to. But anyways, I was kind of surprised that he took the time to call me. I'm like, dude, you just told me 2 weeks ago you don't have time for anything. Why are you calling me for this?
They had the authority to speak with him, yes.
The museum did. I don't know, Leslie.
I just think we need to be controlling access to Block 5 like we do for the attorney or any of the professionals that we have to pay, because...
then let's get that message to them. Let's not sit here and say it.
No, I'm saying it now,
Yeah.
it's just, I think that needs to be put out, and I think if we're having a meeting with department heads and things like that, that's great, but,
I think if Graham's firefighter is on the computer and something happens, he should be able to call Josh and get some instant tech support. Other than that, no one should be talking to Block 5 except for the department heads or the selectmen liaison type thing, you know, because it is getting, like I said, she called just so he could advocate for her. And he actually took it a step further. He informed her she could apply for a youth grant application and make some money that way. So.
alrighty. Approval of the minutes for November 29th.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of November 29th, both public and non-public, as well as the non-public minutes of November 22nd. Oh, and December
Yeah.
1st.
22nd and 29th, and December 1st.
Yeah.
Is that a second? Okay, motion second, further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Meeting minutes pass. Anybody else got anything?
Just one quick question regarding meetings. We're encumbering the 30th, correct?
Yes,
Department heads will be the 27th.
Yes,
Do we want to have a meeting the 20th?
already decided not to, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's the meeting that Ellen had asked us not to be in here because they're
Okay.
distributing, so
Okay, good.
we're gonna skip the 20th.
Good.
When were they again?
27th and 30th. I think 30th is during the day, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
The 27th is the date.
There's a letter in there to sign to 13 Wadley Point about occupying a seasonal home.
Right, I signed that,
I
that's the
checked
letter I
today,
sent.
there's been 12 letters go to them over the last century, decade.
Kev, you leaving?
No, I was picking this up. Sorry.
Where'd that letter go?
That's in the orange folder. That was the one I signed.
You talking about that? Yeah, it's in,
It's in there.
look in those papers right there, I think it's mixed in with the department committee.
It definitely was in there.
So they once upon a time.
Like I said, I know I signed it earlier tonight, so.
Did they get into Cindy's folder, maybe?
I didn't sign it either, I missed it.
You're welcome.
Sorry, let's see back. I thought I signed all these deeds. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Go Cats.
Seconded. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good evening.